My name is Serena Alvarez. I'm 36, and I've been active duty in the Army for over 12 years. I've deployed twice, trained hundreds of soldiers, and served under more pressure than I care to describe. But this story isn't about war zones or combat. It's about the one thing I thought I had under control: my home. On paper, I was doing everything right. I owned a clean 2-story house just outside Fort Braddock in North Carolina. I had a stable career, a decent income, and a marriage that looked perfectly normal to anyone glancing in. My husband, Tyler Whitmore, was 38, a civil engineer who worked from home. He wasn't military, but he liked to throw in, "My wife's in the Army," like it was some kind of character badge. He was charming in public, quiet at home, and had just enough wit to keep dinner conversations interesting. Not dazzling, but solid. Dependable. Or so I thought. We didn't have kids, not because we couldn't, but because I wasn't ready. Deployments, field ops, emergency drills. I wasn't going to half-raise a child from FaceTime in a tent somewhere in the desert. Tyler had always said he was fine with it. Said it gave us more freedom, more us time. In hindsight, that should have been a red flag. The kind of man who likes too much freedom usually finds ways to use it. Now, here's where things get interesting. About 6 months before this whole thing unraveled, my older sister Madison moved in with us. She was recently divorced, unemployed, and absolutely drowning in melodrama, the kind that arrives with a suitcase full of excuses and 3 bottles of cheap red wine. She'd been living in Georgia with her ex-husband, a controlling narcissist, according to her, but when the marriage finally collapsed, she had nowhere to go. Naturally, I told her to come stay with us for a while, just until she found her footing. She didn't push back. She never does when someone's offering her something for free. I set her up in our guest bedroom. Tyler helped her move her stuff in. At first, it seemed like the arrangement would be short-term. A month, maybe 2. Madison could watch the house when I was away, maybe help Tyler with groceries or errands. Light stuff. She was family, after all. What's the point of family if not to carry each other during hard times? The first few weeks were uneventful. She cooked dinner a couple nights a week, claimed she was job hunting online, spent a lot of time doing yoga in the living room. Tyler didn't seem to mind. He liked the company, said it was nice to have someone around when I was out on base for extended hours. That didn't raise any alarms. I mean, the guy was sitting at a desk all day, drawing plumbing schematics. What was he going to do? Seduce my sister with his CAD files? Anyway, life rolled on. We all slipped into a rhythm. I'd wake up before dawn, go on a run, hit the base, do my thing. Tyler would make his coffee. Madison would stretch on the yoga mat like she was starring in her own fitness vlog, and I'd be out the door before 7. Every now and then I'd come home to find the two of them watching some Netflix show I didn't care about. They always offered to restart it, and I always waved them off. I was tired. I had my own world. I didn't need to compete with theirs. What I did start to notice, though, were little shifts. The way Tyler laughed more when Madison talked. The extra glasses in the sink after I'd gone to bed. A perfume scent in the hallway that wasn't mine. Still, nothing concrete. I chalked it up to me being overworked. Exhaustion messes with your gut instinct. Makes you doubt yourself. Besides, Madison was my sister. Tyler was my husband. The people who, in theory, should have been the safest. Then came the orders. Temporary duty at Fort Hartley for a 3-week training program. It was a short rotation, no big deal. I'd done worse. I'd been away longer, I told Tyler, packed my bags, and left the following Monday. The night before I left, we had a quiet dinner. Madison made roasted chicken. Tyler poured the wine. We talked about normal things, base life, job prospects. Madison joked about learning how to code so she could finally be the breadwinner. Everyone laughed. The 3 of us sitting around the table like some twisted sitcom family. I didn't know it at the time, but that would be the last meal I ever had in that house as someone who trusted both of them. Fort Hartley wasn't bad. Boring, mostly. I was helping instruct new officer candidates babysitting, really. Lots of recycled theory, chain of command lectures, and awkward salutes from second lieutenants trying too hard. Still, it kept my mind busy. I checked in with Tyler every couple of days, sent Madison the occasional, "How's it going?" text. Responses were brief, nothing unusual. One word replies. Doing fine here. A house is good there. I didn't press. I wasn't the type to hover. I wasn't supposed to come home early. That wasn't the plan. But one of the instructors broke his ankle during PT, and they sent half the rotation back ahead of schedule. I didn't tell Tyler. I figured I'd surprise him, maybe bring home takeout, be the fun wife for once. I drove in just after noon, parked in my usual spot, and unlocked the front door without thinking twice. The house was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, suspicious quiet, like someone hit mute on a bad decision. I dropped my duffel in the hallway. There were shoes by the door, his and hers, Madison's flats, Tyler's sneakers. The living room was spotless, but the coffee table had 2 mugs on it. One had lipstick, not mine. I didn't wear any. Then I smelled it, her perfume, that obnoxious gardenia mist she always sprayed too much of. It hit me like a warning shot. I paused, turned toward the master bedroom, and heard water running, the shower, and then voices. Low, intimate, not panicked, not surprised, comfortable. I didn't blink. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I walked down the hall, past the framed photo of our wedding day that now looked like a bad inside joke, and straight to the bathroom door. It was unlocked. My hand stayed on the doorknob for maybe half a second, not long enough to think, just long enough to register that whatever was on the other side was going to take a piece of me with it. I pushed it open. The steam hit first, thick, humid, scented with something artificial and expensive. Then came the sight. There they were. Tyler leaned back in the bathtub like he owned the world. Madison sat between his legs, her head tilted back on his shoulder, both of them soaked and smiling. His hands were on her waist, her eyes were closed. It took them a second to realize the door was open. Tyler turned first. His eyes met mine. He didn't even flinch. Madison followed his gaze. Her mouth dropped open. That's when I moved. I didn't speak. I didn't scream. I stepped back, closed the door, turned the lock from the outside, and heard the click echo through the bathroom like a slap. Then I walked away. They didn't chase, didn't knock, not yet. I went straight to the nightstand in our bedroom, my bedroom, and grabbed both of their phones. No passcodes. Tyler never set one. Madison's was the same as it had always been. Her birthday. Of course it was. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wet with the air from the bathroom, and opened Tyler's messages first. I didn't have to dig far. The affair was there in full color. Texts going back months. Photos. Inside jokes. Private conversations about me. They laughed at how uptight I was, called me Sergeant Buzzkill, joked about how I never noticed anything. The plan was all over the threads when to meet, how long they could get away with it, even a spreadsheet draft of what to do with the house once I was out of the picture. Madison had sent him a video from the guest room. She was wearing my robe. I switched to her phone. Same deal. DMs, texts, voice memos. One message read, "You think she suspects anything?" Tyler's reply, "If she did, she'd be blowing up my office by now." He really didn't think I'd keep my cool. Then I saw the banking app. She'd used my social security number. Applied for a personal credit line under my name. Maxed out one card already groceries. Online purchases. Hotel charges. She used my email as the recovery address. Probably figured I was too busy to check. I opened the browser on her phone. There were tabs still up. One was titled How to Remove Someone from Mortgage Without Divorce. Another, Spousal Abandonment Loophole in NC Law. These two weren't having an affair. They were plotting a quiet mutiny. The house? My name was first on the deed. The VA loan was in my file. Tyler was listed as co-borrower, but not primary. If I were to vanish, say, overseas deployment gone long, they'd have the house and the paperwork lined up to shove me out legally. They were going to bury me in paperwork and redirection. All while soaking in my tub, living in my house, and pretending I never existed. That's when the knocking started. "Serena?" Madison's voice. Soft, forced calm. "We can explain." I didn't answer. Tyler spoke next. "Please come back. Let's talk like adults." Adults? I opened my closet, pulled out my duffel, and grabbed a small voice recorder I kept from field briefings. Set it near the door. Pressed record. Then I walked out to the hallway, phone in hand, and called Ellie. She picked up in 2 rings. "Alvarez?" "Yeah," I need you. You okay? No. Silence. Where are you? She asked, voice lowering like we were back in basic. My house. She didn't ask why. On my way, 20 out. 20 out, click. I returned to the room. The knocking hadn't stopped. Madison was crying now. Tyler was saying something about making mistakes, about being confused. I didn't care. I sat on the floor by the bathroom door and listened. The water had stopped. They were whispering again, low and urgent. Planning, maybe, spinning whatever version of this they thought would get them out clean. Madison's voice cracked through the wood. Serena, you have to believe me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I tilted my head. Like this. Being me walking in on their filth? Or the part where I didn't lose my mind like they expected? You think I'm stupid, I said, not yelling, just speaking. No, she said. God, no. You used my name to open a credit line. Silence. I saw it. More silence. I stood and leaned against the door. You two are gonna sit tight. You're gonna stay in there until I decide what happens next. Serena. Not another word, I said. Then I walked downstairs. I needed coffee. While the machine hissed and dripped, I opened my laptop, pulled up the bank statements, screenshotted everything, sent them to a secure folder, checked my email for anything else Madison might have forwarded to herself, changed every password. Then I went into the shared documents folder. Tyler never thought I looked at. Found a PDF labeled Exit Strategy. In it, a list of asset transfers, split percentages, timeline options, a note, wait for next deployment to finalize. They thought I wouldn't fight back, that I'd fall apart, that I'd go away quietly. They really had no idea who they married, or who they shared a childhood with. I poured my coffee, sat on the couch, and waited for the knock. Not the one from inside the bathroom, the one at the front door. The knock came exactly 17 minutes after I made the call. I opened the door, and there she was, Ellie Ramirez, 6 feet of sharp eyes and no bullshit, wearing jeans, a plain black tee, and that look she always got when something smelled off. She stepped inside without a word, scanned the room once, then turned to me. Bathroom? Upstairs. Locked in. She raised an eyebrow. Both of them? Yup. She followed me up without hesitation. On the way, I handed her Madison's phone. Start with hers. We stopped in the hallway outside the bathroom. Ellie stood still, listening. A muffled argument was happening on the other side. She glanced at me. They don't know you called? Nope, they think I'm sulking. She gave me the faintest grin. You're terrifying. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Ellie pulled out her tablet, plugged in Madison's phone, and started backing up the contents. If she changed any settings or deleted anything in the last few hours, I'll still get it. She's not smart enough to cover her tracks. From inside the bathroom, I heard Tyler's voice. Serena, please, we can't breathe in here. This isn't fair. Fair. I took one step forward and leaned close to the door. Neither was screwing my sister in my house while I was serving my country. Silence. Ellie didn't even look up. Nice line. 2 passed. Tyler said something after that, but it was muffled. I didn't care. I turned to Ellie. How bad does this look legally? She tapped the screen. Madison's looking at fraud, identity theft, financial abuse. Tyler, if we can prove he planned the asset transfer with intent to deceive you during deployment, it's marital misconduct at the very least. Courts don't like that. She paused. You got a divorce attorney lined up? Not yet. I know one. Female. Veteran. Cold as Alaska. You'll love her. The download completed. Ellie started scanning through messages. Her eyebrows kept rising. Wow. They actually documented their own crimes. She turned the screen to me. They were planning to wait until your next overseas rotation, file a contested divorce, and claim you abandoned the marriage. This girl even looked up how to fake mental health records to block you from custody. I didn't respond. I was watching the bathroom door. Ellie kept reading. Tyler wanted to flip the house and move to Denver. Madison was pushing for Arizona. Said she liked the weather. She snorted. She's gonna like prison air better. I opened the closet in the hallway and pulled out my old voice recorder again. Checked the battery. Still running. I hit stop, saved the file, and clipped it to my belt. They're talking nonstop in there, I said. Probably trying to figure out how to sell this mess. Ellie stood up and stretched. Let's help them understand it's not for sale. We both moved to the bedroom. Ellie opened Tyler's laptop next. Same story. Email drafts to real estate agents, notes on financial separation. One doc labeled, worst case scenarios. Inside were bullet points on how to make me look unstable if things went public. I sent everything to the cloud. Password protected. Forwarded copies to Ellie. She looked at me. You ready to open that door? Not yet. I want the lawyer on the line first. She nodded, pulled out her phone, and made the call. 3 rings later, a firm voice answered. This is Rachel Dunn. I was no at another brain glang. Ellie didn't waste time. Rachel, it's Ramirez. I've got a military client. Home invasion of trust and financial misconduct. Female, stable, clean record, wants a divorce, asset protection, and custody of minor relative. Rachel answered, calm and focused. Where is she? Next to me. And we've got the perps locked in a bathroom upstairs. A pause. Of course you do. Put her on. Ellie handed me the phone. Miss Dunn? Call me Rachel. First thing, do you feel safe? Yes. Good. Second, document everything. And I mean everything. Conversations, files, receipts, voice memos, emails. The more paper, the better. I've already started. She didn't miss a beat. Perfect. Send me everything you have in the next hour. I'll begin drafting emergency motions. Do you have any interest in criminal charges? I hesitated. Depends how ugly they want to make it. She chuckled, low and cold. They already made it ugly. Now we make it legal. We hung up. Ellie handed back Madison's phone, wiped clean of personal data but not the evidence. You ready now? She asked. Yeah. We returned to the hallway. I grabbed the key from my pocket. From inside, I heard Madison's voice again. Serena, please, you don't know the full story. I replied calmly. I know enough. I turned the key. The door creaked open, and the steam rolled out. They looked like strangers. Tyler stood with a towel around his waist, soaked and pale. Madison clutched another towel, her hair dripping, mascara running down her cheek in thick streaks. Tyler tried to step forward. I raised a hand. Don't. Not one step. He stopped. Ellie stepped into view behind me, arms crossed. Who the hell is that? Madison asked. Someone smarter than both of you, I said. Now shut up and listen. I reached into my back pocket, pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a printed screenshot of their text exchange about the house sale. I handed it to Tyler. His eyes flicked across the page. Color drained from his face. Madison glanced at it and immediately started talking. This isn't what it looks like. No, I said. It's exactly what it looks like. Neither of them spoke after that. Ellie stepped forward, phone in hand, and snapped a photo of them standing side by side. Documentation, she said. I turned and walked away. They didn't follow. They didn't move. The hallway felt bigger than before, quieter. Like something had shifted, and it had. I didn't go far. Just to the kitchen. I needed space, not distance. Ellie followed behind, silent, focused, still holding Madison's phone like it was radioactive. She pulled up a chair at the table, sat down, and opened her notes. They're not the first people to cheat, she said casually. But this was organized. They had intent, motive, timeline, digital records. It's practically gift-wrapped. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned on the counter. You should see what's on his laptop, I said. Spreadsheets, drafted property agreements, fake narratives. Ellie tapped the table. That's not even the worst part. I raised an eyebrow. She flipped the phone around and pushed it toward me. On the screen was a thread of messages between Madison and someone saved as GT, legal. The conversation was recent. A few days old. Madison. So if she's overseas, can I still claim primary residence? G.T. legal. Depends on how long she's out of state. Get proof she's absent and disengaged. Madison. What about the mortgage? Her name's on the loan. G.T. legal. We can push for reassignment under abandonment clauses, depends on timing. I stared at the screen. She hired a lawyer. Or consulted one. Either way, she was already trying to get you erased. I grabbed the phone and scrolled up. More of the same suggestions on how to challenge loan ownership, how to dispute marital property rights, how to submit mental health concerns as leverage. There was even a drafted email from Madison to Tyler suggesting they claim I'd become aggressively unstable since my last deployment. That I had outbursts. I didn't even have a speeding ticket. Ellie leaned back in her chair. They weren't just sleeping together. They were building a paper trail. That's when I opened my laptop again. Logged into the shared cloud drive that Tyler set up for home management. Inside a folder called Archive, I found PDFs, scanned forms, photos of receipts, copies of old emails. One folder was named Plan C. Plan C was basically a roadmap to screw me without ever setting foot in court. It included a draft letter from Madison to a child services agency claiming I was emotionally abusive as a military caregiver. She even listed fake incidents, said I screamed at her kid, said I had violent nightmares and broke dishes. Her kid wasn't even staying with us. He was with his dad in Georgia. The lies weren't just malicious, they were stupid. There were entries labeled documentation for leverage, and inside them, photos taken around the house. One showed an empty liquor bottle in the recycling bin. Another was of the medicine cabinet where I kept melatonin and ibuprofen. She had captioned it, "Evidence of pill use." Ellie squinted at the screen. She was setting up a whole fake narrative. Yeah, one that ends with me dishonorably discharged and financially ruined. She nodded slowly. She wanted you erased and replaced. Neat and clean. I sat down across from her and exhaled through my teeth. You think I should have seen it coming? No, Ellie said bluntly. People like you don't. You're too busy handling real problems. You assume the people at home aren't creating fake ones. I stared at the screen again. My name was everywhere on loan documents, tax records, pay stubs, property deeds, but in their messages, it was like I was already gone. Madison had typed things like, "Once she's out, it'll feel like she never existed." I stood up and paced. Ellie opened her phone. Sending all of this to Rachel now. She's gonna have a field day. I nodded but didn't say anything. My hands were clenched without realizing it. I loosened them and went to the fridge, grabbed a protein bar, unwrapped it slowly. I wasn't hungry, but I needed something to do. Something that wasn't rage. Then I heard movement upstairs. Not loud. Just enough to remind me they were still here. Still breathing my air. Still wearing my towels. Still walking on my floor like they had a right. Ellie didn't react. She just kept typing. I'm gonna change the locks tonight, I said. Good. Also call the credit bureaus. Freeze your reports. I'll walk you through it. I sat back down. If she opened anything else under my name, I want her charged. She will be. Criminally. She will be. Ellie's confidence wasn't bluster. She was calm because she'd done this before. Maybe not this exact nightmare, but close enough. She knew how to dismantle chaos, one legal step at a time. We worked side by side for the next hour, compiling files, syncing backups, photographing every document. I canceled old accounts, changed bank passwords, notified my commanding officer that I needed to initiate a personal security review standard protocol when identity misuse is suspected. Every time something got done, it chipped away at the panic I didn't realize was sitting on my chest. Not the kind that makes you cry, the kind that makes you sweat cold while pretending you're fine. Ellie glanced at the hallway. You want them gone tonight? Yes. Police or voluntary? Voluntary. For now. Okay. She pulled out her phone again, sent a text, then looked at me. Rachel wants to do a Zoom call with you in the next hour. She's pulling court filings and wants to confirm timeline. Set it up. Then I stood and walked back upstairs. Ellie didn't follow this time. She didn't need to. At the top of the stairs, the bathroom door was half cracked open. Tyler was sitting on the edge of the tub. Madison was pacing like a trapped animal. She froze when she saw me. Tyler opened his mouth, but I beat him to it. You have 20 minutes to get dressed, pack a bag, and get the hell out of my house. Madison tried the tearful sister routine again. Serena, I made a mistake. No, I snapped. A mistake is putting salt in your coffee. This was sabotage. Tyler stood. We didn't mean for it to happen like this. You meant every word you typed, every lie you planned, every dollar you moved. They didn't argue. I turned around, walked back down the stairs, and didn't look back. Ellie was waiting in the kitchen with a legal pad covered in bullet points and arrows when I came back down. She barely glanced up. "They leaving? They've got 20 minutes. She nodded like she'd expected nothing less. "Good. Rachel's sending over emergency filing drafts. She'll need your signature on a couple tonight. We'll print and scan." I poured a glass of water and sat across from her. My body felt wired, like my nervous system was still running combat drills. But my head? Clear. Sharper than it had been in years. "Utilities?" I said. "His name's on one." "Gas," Ellie confirmed. "Already flagged for removal. We're transferring everything to your name or off the joint account." "Vehicle registration. He doesn't own the truck. It's leased under your name." "Insurance?" "On hold starting midnight. You'll call first thing and switch it solo." It went on like that. Financial quicksand, one step at a time. Madison hadn't touched most of my military pay, too well protected, but Tyler had chipped around the edges, tiny withdrawals, transfers into a joint savings goal account that didn't actually exist anymore. I revoked every access point. Froze every channel. The printer spat out the first court draft. Emergency separation filing. It felt heavier than paper. Ellie handed me a pen. "This is the line where you stop being married to someone who thinks you're disposable." I signed it. Upstairs, drawers opened and closed. Low voices traded panic in hushed tones. It didn't matter. Their scramble was a shadow of a plan that never included consequences. Madison tried to walk past me 15 minutes later with a gym bag and her eyes on the floor. I didn't speak. Neither did she. Tyler came behind her, slower, carrying a duffel like he was being punished. He stopped at the door. "This isn't who we are, Serena." I looked him straight in the face. "That's the first true thing you've said all year." He left. Ellie stood by the window and watched their car pull away. "Think they'll be stupid enough to come back? They won't risk it. Not after what we just locked down." She didn't argue. We worked through dinner, legal prep, digital forensics. 2 surprise credit cards showed up under my name, each less than 6 months old. Both maxed out, both traced to Madison's old Gmail. She didn't even bother changing the recovery email. Ellie reported it to the Financial Crimes Division. Gave them a copy of the text threads, proof of identity misuse, timestamps, login locations. The case ID came back in under an hour. We took photos of everything left behind: bills, notes, even her scribbled list on the fridge titled Freedom Goals. It had 5 items. 1. Pay off debt. 2. Own a house. 3. Marry someone stable. 4. Be respected. 5. Start over. Number 3 was circled. Ellie pointed to it and smirked. "Guess that part didn't work out." I tossed the paper in the shredder. The house felt different already. Quieter. Not calmer, just honest. The kind of silence that doesn't lie to you. Rachel called at 9. She was dry, professional, and delighted with the evidence. "This isn't a divorce," she said. "It's a tactical retreat from 2 idiots who thought you wouldn't fire back." "I want the house," I said. "You'll get the house. You've got the mortgage, the title, the payments, the service history." He's got a duffel bag and bad credit. "What about the fraud?" "Madison's looking at multiple counts. If she pushes for a plea, we'll aim for restitution and a record. If she wants to play stubborn, we let the feds bite." I didn't ask what came next. Rachel didn't speak like someone guessing. She was carving a path. By midnight, the files were sent, backed up, mirrored to the cloud and hard copy. Ellie set up a security cam system from her car, slapped the stickers on the windows, and linked the app to my phone. "I'm gonna crash in the guest room," she said. "If that's cool." "Of course." She turned off the lights and disappeared upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, hands flat on the table, staring at the hardwood floor that Tyler once said he'd refinish for me. He never did. The phone buzzed once, an unknown number. I didn't pick up. I walked the perimeter of the house like I used to do in the field, checking every door, every latch, every blind spot. The locks were solid. The silence didn't feel threatening anymore. Upstairs, in the now vacant bathroom, I opened the cabinet and pulled out every item that didn't belong to me. Her lotions, her hairbrush, his razor. I dumped it all in a trash bag and dropped it in the outside bin. In the guest room, Madison had left behind a necklace, gold, fake, with her name on it in cursive. I snapped it in half and put it in the same bag. I didn't cry. Not once. It wasn't numbness. It was something more dangerous. Clarity. The kind that makes you write lists with names and dates. The kind that makes you call lawyers and change passwords and shred keepsakes without blinking. The kind that builds a new wall between who you were and who you're about to be. The paperwork on the kitchen table wasn't just legal strategy. It was a kill shot. The final phase in a betrayal that didn't end with screaming or tears but with signatures, timestamps, and receipts. There would be no apology big enough. No version of "I didn't mean to" that could walk this back. They hadn't just cheated. They'd written me out of my own life on paper. Assuming I'd salute and vanish, they wanted a clean slate. I was going to give it to them. Right after I burned the one they tried to steal, the next morning came without drama. No angry texts. No surprise knocks. Just sunlight through the blinds and the dull ache in my shoulders from sleeping in a body that hadn't fully relaxed in days. Ellie was already up, sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, a mug of black coffee in front of her like she'd been born at a forward operating base. "Your ex-sister tried to log into your military portal at 2:47 a.m., she said, without looking up. I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. "Seriously?" "Yep. I've got the alert on your account. Locked it down tighter than Fort Knox. Thanks." She glanced at me now. "You want breakfast or revenge first?" "Revenge is lower calorie." "Smart. I doin'." By 8, Rachel had sent over the finalized emergency orders for the court. Protective orders for financial access, motion to freeze disputed assets, and a formal notice of intent to pursue identity theft charges. The cover letter was clean, sharp, and brutal. It made Madison sound like a low-level con artist, which, honestly, was generous. Ellie printed everything while I got dressed. Not in uniform, this wasn't base business, but in something intentional. Black jeans, boots, a fitted jacket, nothing said, "I am not your victim," like dressing like a woman with a checklist and a deadline. Rachel called just before 9. "We've got a hearing date for the emergency financial freeze. Judge O'Reilly. She's sharp, military-friendly. You'll be fine." I asked, "Will they be notified?" "They'll get served today." I didn't ask who was serving them. I didn't need to. Ellie and I drove to the courthouse. Quick filing, clean drop-off, minimal contact, everything digital and time-stamped. No emotions, no small talk. Just execution. Back at the house, we were halfway through uploading the last batch of supporting documents when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a local number I recognized. Tyler's work. I let it go to voicemail. Seconds later, a second call. Same number, then a third. Ellie looked over. "Want me to pick up and use my official voice?" I shook my head. Let it ring. The phone dinged. New voicemail. I put it on speaker. "Serena. It's Paul from HR at Tyler's firm. Listen, we need to talk about some serious concerns that just came up. I don't want to make assumptions, but if you could give me a call back today, I'd appreciate it." I locked the screen and tossed it on the table. Ellie smirked. "Guess word's getting out. Good." The fallout was beginning to ripple. Madison, apparently, had been contacting people, spinning her own version, saying I'd kicked her out unfairly, that Tyler had been emotionally neglected, that everything had spiraled because of deployment trauma. Classic move, blame the person with rank and structure, but she underestimated the power of screenshots. Ellie sent over a curated folder to Rachel, one with just enough of the texts, the plans, and the financial manipulation to erase any sympathy they might try to milk. It wasn't revenge, it was preemptive control of the narrative. Around noon, the doorbell rang. I opened it and came face to face with the last person I expected, Madison. She looked wrecked. Pale, no makeup. Hair in a messy bun, same jacket she wore in college. She held a brown paper bag and a look like she thought this was all going to be fixable with a sad speech. Before I could speak, she opened her mouth. "Please, just hear me." Ellie stood up from the kitchen behind me. Madison spotted her and instantly went defensive. "Oh, she's still here? What, am I on trial now?" "No," I said flatly. "This isn't a trial. Trials come with the option of mercy." She tried to hand me the bag. "I brought your favorite scones, the cranberry ones, from Becker's." I didn't move. "You broke into my life like it was a hotel room and now you're showing up with pastries?" I messed up, okay? You committed felony fraud. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Then why did it? Ellie asked, arms crossed. Madison ignored her. Tyler was the one who started it. He came on to me. He was lonely. You were never home. I was just there. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Stop. And tasked about rated. What? Just stop, Madison. You're not here to apologize. You're here to manage the damage. Her mouth opened and closed, then settled into a frown. You act like I'm the devil. You forged my signature. I didn't think you'd notice. I stared at her. That's your defense? She set the bag down on the porch and crossed her arms. You don't know how hard it was living in your shadow. You, with your medals and your structured little life, everyone always saw you as the strong one, because I was the strong one, and you lived under my roof because of it. Silence. She glanced away. I just wanted something of my own. So you took mine. End quote. She looked at me again, and for the first time, she didn't look guilty. She looked bitter. You'll bounce back. You always do. That did it. I stepped closer. You want to know what really makes me different from you? She didn't answer. I don't burn people to feel warm. I turned and opened the door. You're not welcome here again. Ever. If you come back, I press charges. And I mean the full set. Identity theft, credit fraud, attempted property seizure. You name it. Madison's voice cracked. You'd do that to your own sister? You did this to your own sister. I closed the door in her face. Ellie exhaled behind me. That was something. She's something. It's no rident. I picked up the bag of scones and walked it straight to the trash. No one said anything else. By that evening, the story was no longer just mine. Someone, probably Madison or Tyler, or one of their mutual friends, decided to get ahead of the fallout and started painting their version of events online. A vague post appeared on Facebook about family betrayal, military emotional neglect, and being pushed out of a home you helped build. No names, just hints, but anyone who knew the three of us didn't need names. I got the screenshots from 3 different people in less than an hour. Ellie scrolled through the post on her phone, eyes narrowing. She really thinks she's going to win the sympathy Olympics with this garbage. She's trying to get in front of it. Too bad we already have the receipts. We spent the next 10 minutes uploading the full PDF trail to a private folder. Screenshots of text messages, financial records, timeline breakdowns. Ellie created a simple index and called it The Truth, according to evidence, just the facts. No commentary, no emotion. It wasn't a smear campaign. It was documentation. Still, it didn't stop the public noise. A few of Madison's old friends, women I hadn't seen since her wedding, started chiming in with comments like, "Family's complicated," and "No one really knows what goes on behind closed doors." One even messaged me directly. "Hey Serena, I don't want to get involved, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry you're going through this. I hope you and Madison can fix things eventually." Fix things? I read the message twice and laughed. Not the fun kind of laugh. The kind you let out when your brain's trying to keep your hands from breaking something. Ellie leaned over. "Block them. All of them." I did, one by one. Quiet clicks, no explanations. By 9 p.m., it was obvious Madison wasn't going to stop at online pity. She'd sent an email to my commanding officer, yes, my CO, with a vague claim that I was unstable, emotionally erratic, and possibly abusing prescription drugs. She even attached a photo of my Advil bottle from the medicine cabinet. Seriously, luckily, my CO, Captain Fairbanks, had known me for years. He called me directly. "Hey, Alvarez, I just got a strange email about you. You okay?" "Peachy," I said. "You got it too, huh?" "Yeah. Looks like your sister's trying to turn a family mess into a career-ending event." I didn't explain everything. Just enough. "Got it," he said. "I'll file it and ignore it. You're squared away on record, and if anyone asks, I've got your 6. I thanked him and hung up. Ellie looked over from the couch. "How's that for karma boomeranging in real time?" "She's throwing rocks at a tank. She forgot you are the tank." We both laughed. Short, tired laughs, but real. It didn't stop there. Tyler's boss, Paul, the one who left the voicemail, called again. This time, I picked up. "Serena, hey. Sorry to keep bugging you, but I really need to ask. Has Tyler been okay lately? In what sense? We've been reviewing some VPN logs and let's just say there are gaps. Billing hours don't match server activity, and there's a lot of personal traffic during work hours. Shopping sites, dating apps, Reddit threads. It's not a great look. Sounds like you already have your answer. He hesitated. I know this is awkward. I didn't mean to put you in the middle. You're not. I'm just confirming the obvious. There was a long pause. Thanks, Serena. We're probably going to have a conversation with him tomorrow. Do what you need to do. I hung up. Ellie grinned from across the room. So let me get this straight. He cheated, got caught, and now he's about to lose his job because he couldn't stop swiping on Tinder between Zoom meetings, essentially. She raised her cup. To poetic justice. I lifted mine and clinked the edge. We didn't toast to revenge. We toasted to clean air after a storm. The news kept spreading. Quietly, steadily, not through gossip sites or tabloids, but the way real stories do through text threads, friend circles, community whispers, the kind of story that makes people lean in and say, wait, did you hear about? One of Tyler's old coworkers messaged me on LinkedIn, of all places. Hey, Serena, I know this is weird, but I just wanted to say I always admired how you carried yourself. You deserved better. Simple. Unexpected. But it landed. Then came the biggest shift. Madison's ex-husband, Greg, called me. We hadn't spoken since their divorce. He wasn't exactly a fan of mine back then. Thought I enabled her behavior by always bailing her out. He wasn't wrong. Serena, he said, I don't mean to intrude. I just wanted to tell you. I get it now. What she's capable of. I saw that post she made. She tried to pull the same public victim act when we split. She did worse than post. I believe it. There was a pause, like he was waiting to be yelled at, or hung up on. Instead, I just said, thanks for calling. Let me know if you need anything. We ended the call on a rare note. Mutual understanding. That night, I took one last walk around the block, just to breathe. The street was quiet. The house is dim. The same neighborhood I'd moved into thinking it was going to be the start of something peaceful. Instead, it became a battlefield. Not the kind with gunfire and flares, but the kind with paperwork, betrayal, and the slow, steady process of dismantling someone's illusion of control. Ellie locked up while I stood by the front window, watching nothing in particular. She walked past me and flicked off the kitchen light. Want me to stay another night? She asked. No, I've got it from here. She nodded and grabbed her bag. At the door, she turned and said, by the way, they messed with the wrong woman. Then she was gone. 3 days later, I walked into the courthouse wearing my uniform. Not because I had to, but because I wanted the judge, the attorneys, and everyone else in the room to understand exactly who they were dealing with. Rachel met me just outside the family court wing. She was dressed like someone who wins cases and doesn't care if you like her. Hair pulled back, no jewelry, blazer sharp enough to draw blood. She handed me a copy of our filings in a sleek black folder and gave me the look of someone who didn't plan to lose. Judge O'Reilly doesn't tolerate dramatics, she said. Lucky for us, we brought receipts, not tears. We walked into the hearing room. Tyler was already there. He wasn't in a suit, he wore khakis and a wrinkled button-down, like he thought court was a job interview at Best Buy. He didn't look at me. Madison wasn't with him. She'd already been served separately for the fraud charges, and Rachel had requested a motion to split her case off entirely. This was about the house, the finances, and the unraveling of a marriage that never should have made it past year 2. Tyler's lawyer looked fresh out of law school. Nervous energy. Too many papers. Kept straightening his tie like he'd practiced this in a mirror. Judge O'Reilly took her seat and got straight to it. No small talk. No pleasantries. Rachel opened with a calm, methodical breakdown of the timeline. Military deployments, financial contributions, evidence of misuse of funds, screenshots of Tyler and Madison's texts. Rachel didn't raise her voice once. She didn't have to. The facts were louder than any argument. Tyler's lawyer stammered through a rebuttal, mostly trying to frame the situation as a breakdown in communication and mutual emotional drift. He tried to position Tyler as confused and manipulated, claiming Madison had taken advantage of a lonely man. The judge held up one of the printouts. This message reads, If she finds out, we'll say she's emotionally unstable from deployment. That doesn't sound confused. That sounds calculated. Tyler didn't speak. Rachel slid another document forward. It was the Plan C folder we pulled from Tyler's laptop, the one outlining how to shift assets away from me while I was out of state. Judge O'Reilly adjusted her glasses and read aloud from it. Wait until next deployment. File in her absence. Push the abandonment claim if needed. She looked at Tyler. Did you write this? Tyler cleared his throat. It was a draft. I didn't mean, did you write it? He nodded. The courtroom was silent. Rachel leaned back slightly. She didn't need to say a thing. The judge looked over the mortgage file next. Payments made. Loan origin. VA benefits. Title history. Miss Alvarez, the judge said. Are you the sole applicant on this home loan? Yes, Your Honor. And has Mr. Whitmore contributed to payments or renovations? No major renovations. I paid the mortgage from my military salary. He occasionally paid utilities. Do you intend to continue living in the home? Yes. The judge nodded, made a note, and then shifted the conversation toward asset division. Rachel handed over a breakdown. It was simple, straight math, no emotional padding. Judge O'Reilly reviewed it, asked a few clarification questions, then turned to Tyler's side. Do you dispute any of these numbers? His lawyer opened his mouth, but Tyler jumped in. No. That one word was the most honest thing he'd said in weeks. When the judge moved on to spousal support, Rachel preemptively shut it down. Miss Alvarez is not requesting support. She simply wants her legal and financial independence restored and protected. The judge raised an eyebrow. No spousal support? Not even reimbursement? No, Your Honor, I said. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for closure. She looked at me longer than necessary, then nodded once. By the end of the hearing, the ruling was clear. The house stayed with me. Tyler's name was removed from all legal documentation. Joint accounts were ordered dissolved within 7 days. He was barred from opening any new credit lines in my name. All property acquired after separation would remain separate. And Madison's case would proceed criminally without me needing to testify unless subpoenaed. It was surgical, clean, final. Tyler didn't say a word as we exited the courtroom. His lawyer gave him a pat on the back that felt more like a pity gesture than a congratulations. Rachel and I walked down the steps without a word. When we reached the sidewalk, she stopped. You were brilliant in there. I barely spoke. Exactly, I thanked her. She handed me a hard copy of the ruling. Next steps are logistical. I'll email you the timeline. I don't know her. She disappeared into a waiting car. Efficient as always. Back home, I sat in the living room, surrounded by the same walls, same furniture, same layout, but none of it felt the same. It didn't feel like the place where I got betrayed. It felt like the place where I drew the line. The paperwork was done. The legal war had been fought without a single raised voice or slammed door. Just facts, deadlines, evidence. Exactly the kind of war I was trained to win. I pulled out the folder one last time, flipped to the final page, and read the judge's closing line. Petitioner has demonstrated consistent financial and personal responsibility under duress. That was enough for me. A week after the court ruling, I changed the locks again. Not because I had to, but because I could. This time, it wasn't about safety. It was about ownership of the house, of my peace, of my goddamn narrative. The locksmith showed up, looked around, and said, "Nice place. Yours?" I didn't even hesitate. Yep, mine. I'd started rearranging furniture, not dramatically, just enough to change the muscle memory. The couch now faced the windows, not the TV. The dining table moved out from under the ugly chandelier Tyler always said we couldn't afford to replace. I replaced it. New light, new mood. The guest room, once Madison's, was empty. I'd boxed up what little she left behind, some books, a cheap flat iron, a hoodie from high school, and donated it all. The closet held nothing now but clean hangers and space. Rachel sent over the final decree. No appeals, no delays, just official confirmation that everything tied to Tyler was legally untied. I filed it in a fireproof safe next to my discharge papers and deployment records. A new kind of service completed. Ellie stopped by with 2 coffees and a grin. "So how's it feel? Like walking out of a burning building without a scratch. You sure? Not even a little smoke damage?" I smirked. "Minor singe. Nothing I won't scrub off." She handed me the coffee. You talked to your niece yet? I nodded. Greg's been great. She's doing okay. Doesn't know the details, just that Aunt Serena has a bigger house and wants her to visit more. You still thinking guardianship? If Madison doesn't get her act together, I'm not thinking, I'm filing. Ellie raised her cup. There's the woman I know. It wasn't about revenge anymore. That part was done. This was cleanup, restoration, and honestly, reinvention. I'd put in for a transfer and gotten approved. Starting next month, I'd be moving to Washington, D.C. Assigned to a leadership training division. Desk job. Stability. And a whole new set of challenges that didn't include dodging emotional landmines. Packing wasn't hard. I didn't own a ton of stuff, and the things I did want to keep all fit into labeled boxes. Deployment gear. Civilian life. Documents. Things worth keeping. Tyler didn't come back. He didn't call, didn't text. The last I heard, he'd been put on unpaid leave while his company investigated his work logs. No updates since. I didn't care enough to dig. Madison made one final attempt at damage control, an email filled with phrases like, "We all made mistakes, and nobody's perfect," and "I wish things could have been different." I didn't reply. I archived it into a folder labeled Nope. Greg and I had kept in touch more than I expected, mostly about his daughter, but occasionally about life. We didn't swap war stories or complain. Just checked in. It was strangely grounding to talk to someone who'd been burned by the same fire. One Saturday, I took a solo drive out to the coast. No destination, just the sound of the highway and the freedom to go wherever the hell I wanted. I ended up at a small beach town with a bookstore and a coffee shop. I spent 3 hours doing nothing. No emails, no calls, no mental checklists, just breathing. Just existing. Back home, I repainted the master bedroom. Neutral tones. Crisp blinds. The old gallery wall of couple photos was gone, replaced by prints of places I wanted to visit. Iceland, Tokyo, Santorini. Not as fantasy, as plans. I bought myself a new watch. Not expensive, just something that marked time on my terms. Every tick felt earned. The neighbors stopped asking questions. Whatever they'd assumed, they kept to themselves. One of them, Mrs. Donahue across the street, brought over banana bread and said, "I always knew you were the strong one." She didn't elaborate. She didn't have to. One night, I came across an old voicemail Tyler had left on our anniversary 2 years ago. Some cheesy line about how he couldn't imagine doing life without me. It's no dot. I deleted it without blinking. Closure isn't a finish line. It's a series of choices. To delete, to repaint, to sign the form, to walk away, to not reply. None of them dramatic, all of them deliberate. I started journaling again. Not about them, about me, my habits, my goals. What I wanted out of this second act. Not a redemption arc, just a better script. The military had taught me a lot about control, discipline, precision. But this was about clarity. About figuring out who I was when no one else's voice was in the room. Every morning, I woke up without checking my phone first. Just stretched, made coffee, and sat in the quiet. The kind of quiet that wasn't hiding anything. The day my official orders for D.C. came in, I opened a new folder on my desktop. Title: Next Mission. No subfolders. Not yet. Just space. And that was enough. The grocery store wasn't where I expected to see him. But there he was, Tyler, standing in front of the produce section, staring blankly at a pile of bruised avocados like they might explain where his life went wrong. He looked smaller. Not physically, but somehow less. Like the posture of a man who used to be the main character in his own story and realized he wasn't even part of the plot anymore. He spotted me before I had a chance to turn away. Froze. Then gave that half-smile people use when they don't know whether to wave or apologize. I didn't give him the chance to decide. I walked past him, straight toward the coffee aisle. I wasn't there for a confrontation. I was there for oat milk and ground dark roast. But of course, he followed. Serena. I didn't answer. He stepped beside me, just enough into my space to make it awkward. You look good. I grabbed the coffee, placed it in my basket, and turned to him. You look unemployed. That knocked the wind out of his fake confidence. He tried to recover. Look, I know I can't fix any of it. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I stared at him, not angry, not sad, just clear. Do you even know what you're apologizing for? His eyes dropped for half a second. I was stupid. No, you were calculated. Madison was stupid. You made PowerPoints. He exhaled. You were always better at planning. You're right. I planned for war. You planned to steal a mortgage. He nodded slowly. I just thought, maybe we could talk, civilly. We did, in court. You signed things, it was very civil. He gave a small, pathetic laugh. You know, I miss you. No, Tyler. You miss who I was before I realized what you were. That shut him up. I walked away. Not in a dramatic way. No eye roll, no stomping, just done. On the drive home, I didn't replay the conversation. I didn't feel like I'd left something unsaid. Closure doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's just the relief of not caring anymore. Back at the house, still mine, always mine, I dropped the groceries on the counter and checked my email. A note from Greg popped up, a short message letting me know my niece's school had asked for emergency contacts and he'd listed me as primary backup. I replied with one word, absolutely. Sometimes family gets chosen again, even after it breaks. The garden in the backyard had started blooming again. Not metaphorically, literally. I'd hired someone to help revive it, ripped out the overgrown mess Madison said she'd get around to, and planted lavender, rosemary, and tomatoes. The woman who did it said, "You're going to like watching things grow that no one can ruin but you." She was right. My niece came to stay with me for 2 weeks in June. We baked terrible cookies, binge-watched documentaries about sharks, and built a blanket fort in the living room she insisted was military grade. I didn't correct her. She even asked if she could call the guest room her room now. I said yes before she finished the sentence. She never mentioned her mom. I didn't bring her up. I framed a photo of us eating ice cream in the kitchen, put it next to my Army commendation on the shelf. Balance. In D.C., things moved quickly. The leadership role came with more responsibility than I expected, but it fit. I wasn't barking orders or running drills anymore. I was mentoring junior officers, guiding them through not just tactics, but real-life choices. Things no manual covers. One afternoon, during a session on integrity, one of the newer lieutenants asked me what the hardest decision in my career had been. I thought about battle plans, deployments, difficult calls under pressure. Then I said, leaving someone I loved when I realized they didn't respect me. I was not. The room was silent. Not awkward. Respectful. Later, that same lieutenant came up and said, "Ma'am, that was the first time someone told me it was okay to walk away from people who wear nice masks." She got it. I still wore my wedding ring for another month, not because I missed him, but because I wanted the tan line gone before it came off. When I finally took it off, I dropped it into a small velvet box and taped it shut. Didn't throw it away, just archived it. Like a piece of outdated equipment no longer in service. By fall, I'd started hosting a small Sunday dinner group with other women in the service. Some active duty, some retired. No speeches, no forced vulnerability, just food, laughter, and space to breathe. Ellie came once, rolled her eyes at the charcuterie board, and said, "You've gone full suburban commander." I toasted her with sparkling water and said, "Yeah, and my base doesn't cheat or lie." We all laughed. Some people assume revenge has to be loud, explosive, scorched earth. Mine wasn't. Mine was paperwork, boundaries, a new mailing address, a locked gate, a well-watered garden, quiet mornings with my niece drawing sharks in crayon on the porch. Mine was surviving with my dignity intact and building a life better than the one they tried to steal. People asked if I'd ever forgive them. Forgiveness isn't owed, especially when the apology comes only after consequences hit. But forgetting? That's optional. I chose to remember, not to hold a grudge, but to hold a standard. And from that day forward, nobody got to rewrite my story but me.